Yet more controversy surrounding the Florida Immigration Detention Center known as Alligator Alcatraz. New reporting from the Miami Herald and Tampa Bay Times reveals the sequence of events that led to a 15-year-old boy with no criminal record being held there for 3 days after a traffic stop.
These detainees are living in cages. The pictures that you've seen don't do it justice. They are essentially packed into cages, wall-to-wall humans, 32 detainees per cage. That is the only thing inside those cages are their bunk beds, and there are 3 tiny toilets that are toilet units that have a sink attached to it. So they essentially drink, they get their drinking water, and they brush their teeth, where they poop in the same unit.
Remember how we were told the detention camp in the Florida Everglades was going to hold some of the most vicious migrants illegally in the country? Well, news just emerged that the state and federal officials detained a 15-year-old boy with no criminal record and sent him in handcuffs to Alligator Alcatraz for 3 days.
So we found that there was a 15-year-old whose name is Alexis who was arrested in Tampa on July 1st by Florida Highway Patrol troopers, who was later transferred to the custody of federal immigration authorities and later sent to Alligator Alcatraz. We were able to talk to his father, who said that he did not hear from his kid for 3 days while he was in the detention center, but when he got the phone call, he was told by his kid that he had been scared about being separated from a group of adults. He had been in a car. He was riding as a passenger in that vehicle.
Teenager, a Mexican national who was a passenger in a vehicle stopped in Tampa by Florida Highway Patrol troopers, allegedly lied about his age originally before he was handed over to federal immigration authorities on July 1st and was swiftly shipped off to Alligator Alcatraz and spent 3 days in the tents and chain link pens at the pop-up detention center, making him one of the first immigrant detainees shuttled to the site. Now, this despite the state maintaining that no minors would be held at Alligator Alcatraz, just as they claimed that they would only go after, as Trump described, the worst of the worst, frequently mentioning murderers, rapists, and child predators as the majority of those being held.
And with the Alligator Alcatraz, is the idea that if some illegal immigrants escape, they just get eaten by an alligator or a snake or something? I guess that's the concept. This is not a nice business. I guess that's the concept. If snakes are fast, but alligators are, but we're going to teach them how to run away from an alligator, okay? If they escape prison, how to run away. Don't run in a straight line. Run like this. And you know what? Your chances go up about 1%, okay? Not a good thing.
However, government data around ongoing detentions tells a different story.
Sign that they are hiding something from lawmakers and from the public.
Alligator Alcatraz is both a detainment center and a center of controversy.
According to data cited in Fortune, the majority of people currently detained by ICE have no criminal convictions. Of those who do, relatively few have been convicted of high-level crimes. A stark contrast to the chilling nightmare that Trump described to support his border security agenda. Now, of course, the response from the MAGA contingent directed at anyone who thinks that a 15-year-old shouldn't be immediately taken off to Alligator Alcatraz, regardless of whether he lied about his age or not, as having toxic empathy. Yeah, that's a thing they've coined. They'll also say that anyone who comes here illegally are all criminals, so they deserve it. But they'll stay silent as more stories emerge like this, where a US Army veteran was arrested during an immigration raid, despite him identifying himself as a US citizen.
Will you first tell me just what it was like the moment when you realized what was happening at this farm? You work for a third-party contractor, you're security guard at this farm. And just describe, did you realize when all these folks roll up that was ICE?
My first thoughts were in shock. I was in disbelief that all this was happen. Honestly, I thought it wouldn't be a problem to go to work as long as I did nothing wrong, as long as I identified myself who I was, and clearly it didn't matter if I was a citizen or if I was a veteran or if I identified who I was at all. It didn't matter to them.
Tell me about the moment when you're in your car amongst this chaos, when you actually get apprehended by ICE, and what you said to them.
When I was getting apprehended, then they were banging on my window to leave or to get out. There was multiple officers telling me to do different things. Some were telling me to keep reversing. Some were banging on my windshield to get out. And I was trying to tell them, like, I'm leaving, like, I'll get out of here. Like, I don't want any problems. I'm trying to reverse. I can't breathe because of the tear gas in my car. I can't reverse. I can't continue to reverse while there's protesters behind me. And you guys are banging on my window and just surrounding my car. And they didn't care. They continued to bang. They ignored everything I said. And they broke my window and they dragged me out.
Did you tell them you're a citizen?
I did. That was the first thing I mentioned when I pulled up to where they were all lined up. I got out my car, and that was the first thing I let them know was I'm a citizen. I'm just trying to go to work. I'm just trying to get to work.
Did you tell them you were a veteran?
I did. I also let them know that I was a veteran and I wasn't doing anything wrong, that I'm just trying to get to work. I'm not trying to protest them. I'm not trying to fight them. I'm just a man trying to get to work.
And now this, which comes as countless prominent Democrats toured the facility and have voiced their concerns regarding its ability to meet the minimal requirements for a detention center.
They opened the door. There was about 6 security guards standing there, kind of pushing us back, but we could see in and we could hear everybody. And when those doors opened, you know, what I saw made my heart sink. I saw 32 people per cage, about 6 cages in the one tent. I saw a lot of people, young men who looked like me and people who were my age. People were yelling, "Help me, help me." I heard in the back someone say, "I'm a U.S. citizen." And as we were walking away, they started chanting, "Libertad, libertad, libertad, freedom." And in looking into these cages, you could see, of course, it was warm and hot within the tent. People were sweating. Some people had taken off the top of their clothing because it was just so hot. Some of them were drenched in sweat. The food we saw is not enough food. They're being fed essentially a small sandwich and a bag of chips. And not just that, but the conditions outside, of course, it's blazing hot. And the fact that into the cage comes from the toilet. Number one, not everyone's going to be able to drink as much water as they'd like to because of that inconvenience, but also it's gross and it's disgusting. And this is where people are being held.
Well, Simone, the truth be told, they don't know who's in charge, because when we first went in on July 3rd, they said that this was a state-run facility. But it wasn't until we got there a few days ago, and to now they said that it's a federal-run facility using ICE procedures to run the facility. But mind you, they're using $450 million of taxpayer dollars. When we first got there a few days ago with my colleagues and congressional members, we walked into the facility through the intake area where we began to see many of the detainees that were sitting down on a bench, shackled by their hands and shackled will have chains on their stomachs. But make insult to injury, what we heard was individuals saying, "I was just on my way to work. I'm an American citizen."
And while Ron DeSantis addressed this issue, he made no statement whatsoever as to assure people that this wouldn't happen again, especially considering Tom Homan is going on Fox to say that they have the right to just stop anyone who they think could be a, quote, illegal immigrant.
I've got to get your reaction to this Biden-appointed federal judge out in Los Angeles, apparently expected today to issue a temporary restraining order halting your lawful operations. She says, "I think it's important for the court not to burden otherwise lawful law enforcement activities." Your reaction there?
Look, people need to understand, ICE officers and Border Patrol, they don't need probable cause to walk up to somebody, briefly detain them, and question them. They just need this. So totality of the circumstances, right? They just got through the observation, you know, get articulable facts based on the location, the occupation, their physical appearance, their actions. Like a uniformed border police walks up to them at for instance, a Home Depot. And they got all these articulable facts, plus the person walks away or runs away. Agents are trained what they need to detain somebody temporarily and question them. It's not probable cause, it's reasonable suspicion. We're trained on that. Every agent, every 6 months get Fourth Amendment training over and over again. These officers are really good at what they do. And if this judge make a decision that's against what these officers are trained, what the law is based upon, then they're going to shut down operation. I think that's your end game. They want ICE to stop doing this. But if they base it on the rule of law, they're going to find out Border Patrol and ICE is doing exactly what they're going to do in accordance with law.
And you're not going to stop coming. Tom Homan, thank you for getting up with us this morning.
Which means they're basically living up to this Family Guy meme as an official government policy.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.